Recording in progress.
Okay.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. This is Dora Wilson. I'm a board member and chair of the Communications Committee meeting. It is Thursday, March 23rd, and it's 1:02 p.m. Let's just go ahead and get the meeting started. I do want to ask the folks in the room to introduce themselves, and then we'll move on to the folks on Zoom.
MJ, do you want to?
Oh, hey, yes. MJ, Chief of Communications, Publications, and External Affairs for the district.
Andy Hallman, board member.
Amanda Foster, executive assistant to the board.
And on Zoom, I see Carl. Carl, can you introduce yourself? Or
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Carl Jacobs, board vice president and member of the Communications Committee.
And Kathy?
Hi, Kathy Moffett, Director of Admin Projects.
And Amanda, help me out. Do we have anybody else online?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, perfect. So let's just jump in and start with the first item on the agenda, which is school board messaging status. MJ, if I can pivot to you, if you can give us an update.
Yeah, so this was just, we briefed the entire board on Monday during the work session of where we are with our bond messaging plan that we discussed in this committee, and just that we launched it and where we are. So for this committee, where we are, we're halfway through. The mailers went out a couple weeks ago. The video spots are on television and online. The radio spots are out. We have our billboards at our school properties. We got about 25 billboards out at various school properties, including the properties that are on the bond. We also have our hard copy. Instead of the one sheet, we've moved forward with the trifold, and that's been distributed to board members as well as staff, and then available for members of the public if they're interested. And then in addition to that, we also created information signs that are similar to the size that we have for graduation signs that are also available for folks if they want to have that and use that to help provide to the public about the information to the bond. The next thing that is on the docket for the plan is a second mailing of the mailer that went out a few weeks ago. That should go out in the next week or so, just to be more or less like a period at the end of the sentence for last minute mail-in voters or those voters that'll be going and making their decision on election day. And we also got some earned media out of that. We did a Make It Monday presentation last Monday where we had two of our media partners published a story on it. And then we did a sort of walkthrough on Tuesday with two other media partners. And they posted a second round of earned media on what we are looking at with our bond. And that's it.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on the school bond? And Amanda, if you can help me out, if you see anybody raising their hand in person or on Zoom that I'm missing.
No problem. And just so you know, Pat is joining us right now.
Madam Chair.
Carl?
Yep. So just a quick comment. I just wanted to thank MJ and the team for the work on the communication rollout regarding the bond. I'm hearing positive feedback regarding just general awareness and the new look and style to the communication. So thank you for that.
Oh, great. Thanks. I'll pass it along to the team. It really was. I didn't do a good job of saying this on Monday, but this really was such a team effort to put this bond messaging plan together. Everything from the design of the new logo to just how we pushed out in the different ideas and tools that we're doing with this. So it just was a huge team effort with the district to do it. And so I just want to make sure that it's not me, it's the team.
I did also see the communication to our businesses and community members, community organizations asking for support to put signage up. So I saw that in multiple different avenues. So
Yes.
Thank you for that. I wanted to
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's another thing that I missed. So we outreach to our school business partnership. Colette, who manages that program for the district, worked with her to develop a workflow and make sure that she has access to the resources if our school board business partnerships wanted to share the information as well. So we started that workflow, and I'll say we've gone through one packet already of trifolds and signage that she's come in and is passing to our school business partnership. So I'm hoping that we can continue to build off of that as we move into the next couple of years and stuff. But I felt like that was a really good opportunity to have that community engagement and that partnership strengthened for a district need.
I love that. I love that we're working more collaboratively with the community, with businesses within ASD. So thank you for that. That's awesome. I also want to acknowledge that Member Higgins has joined us online as well. So if there's no other comments or questions about the school bond, let's move to next thing on the agenda. It's our school start times, town hall status. And MJ, I'm just going to keep pivoting back to you. So,
Okay, great. So we wrapped up our second town hall last night over at South High. We have our final town hall at this point for the school start times project. It will be tomorrow night at Mirror Lake. And then we also have our survey that's out there. And so our plan right now is to do a friendly reminder via Blackboard from Team ASD about the final town hall tomorrow night, location, time, and what you need to know, as well as a friendly reminder that the survey is available and wraps up a week from today, close of business. And the idea behind putting a period at the end of the sentence for that survey is so we can gather some information to provide the board and Board Connect on what we're seeing, and just to kind of give you all some information, a preliminary temperature check, so you have that going into the board meeting.
And
Madam
again,
Chair, could I ask a follow-up question?
of course, please.
Yeah, thank you. And so if I understand right, then MJ the board will have the results from the survey and any relevant takeaways from administration from the series of town halls before early April meeting. Do you know at this point if administration intends to publish a recommendation or do a deep dive in the data via work session sometime in April? Is that the intent, or are we still, as far as we planned out at this point, is presenting the data?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that, but I can certainly circle back with Dr. Bryant. What I do know is that the goal here is to provide the board with some preliminary information on Friday in Board Connect from the survey.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments about the school start times town hall? Well, let's just move along. Next thing on the agenda is our earned media status. Back to MJ.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was more connected to the school bond messaging. And so that was what I wanted to cover on that. I should have outlined that better, but it was just earned media status from the school bond messaging. But I will say, I'll just pivot to that, is that we also got earned media from our media partners with the school start times from pretty much all of our media partners with getting the information out about the school start time town halls, as well as some of the feedback that we've received from the last two.
Awesome, thank you. And help me out with staff status, if you could.
Yeah, I just want to give you guys for my team in communications and publications and external affairs. I've got our videographer is moving on to a different opportunity. Tomorrow is that person's last day, so I'm going to be looking for a digital media producer. Our social media person is going to be out for about a month on military duty. And then our graphics artist is going to be out on medical. So just doing some just reorg to make sure that the workflow continues. But I just wanted to just give you guys a heads up that we'll have a little slower pace until we get things kind of filled with this. But just 3 people in those 3 areas is a little hit to the workflow, but we've got some solutions in the works to get that continue the flow. It's just going to be a little slower right now as we fill the gap. So it's just more or less just an FYI to you guys.
No, thank you for that. And again, thank you to you and all of your members of your team that have been doing the tremendous amount of work that they've been doing. So I appreciate that.
And then I guess on the next agenda is community engagement update, and I can read what she. So Sonia just said that we continue to see growth in the number of volunteer applicants. Our current numbers place us at 7,325, and the Back to School Bash will be held on Saturday, July 22nd at the Ed Center. And that was all we had for community engagement update.
Amanda, and I can email Sonia as well, but I just wanted to, the Back to School Bash, I would like to reiterate what that's going to look like, what needs we're asking from the community to help fill.
Okay.
So we can more clearly state that. So maybe if I could have that information for our next board meeting, and I'll use that for my board comments,
Okay.
as well as reaching out to working with our school business partnerships to see if they can help fill some of those needs as well, so we can have a tremendous Back to School Bash for our kids and families.
Absolutely. That's our agenda.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Because I know everybody's got a busy schedule, and I have no problems finishing early.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Member Jacobs.
Yeah, thank you. Just on the topic of communication, I don't think the flow primarily goes through this committee, but I was curious as to, I saw a news article and related video about Abbott Loop events open to families who are transitioning to other campuses. I was curious if there's any formal update as to how that's going, and if there's additional events coming up or anything on that end would be appreciated. And if I've missed something on Board Connect, that's fine too, just point me in the right direction.
So my intent, this kind of went with Abbott Loop. So we met with the principals back in February and wanted to find out what their needs were in terms of communication and engagement. And they wanted to really handle the first part here on their level. And then after spring break, wants to regroup with my team to discuss additional support with this process. So what we provided for them was they had 2 not community forums, it's the open houses. They had 2 open houses at Cassoon and Trailside to help just to begin that outreach, I believe 2 weeks ago. And so that's in motion. And so I just haven't scheduled a follow-up meeting with the principals to touch base with them on next step needs from communications and outreach. So I can, I'll get that taken care of, and we can have an update for you next comms meeting.
Great, thank you very much. That's all I had, Madam Chair, and so I agree with you. I'm fine with we're timely with our agenda, so I don't have any further items to discuss or objection to adjourning if you so choose.
Wonderful. Any final comments from anyone?
I guess I would just jump in to say I have not been attending these meetings in the past, and glad I attended today. If I knew they went this fast, I probably would have attended all of them, but sorry about that.
We are efficient. We are very efficient.
I will ask one question. I attended Monday the session at East High School. It was 100% favorable to the start time change, and no negative comments on anything else. Was the meeting last night similar, or was it different?
From my perspective, the engagement in person was pretty much on par with what we had the first night.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to attend the next one on Friday, but I was just kind of really interested. Thank you.
And Member Higgins, I can chime in there too. I watched online, or at least for the audience participation portion, because I was coming back from an event in Eagle River with Dr. Bryant. But I saw some folks asking some second or third level questions about specific groups. I think one interesting question was about students and families with zone exemptions. And so I think some of those, again, particular instances are still being ironed out by the administration, I think is kind of my understanding. But it appears to be, I think the split was something like 51-49 in support back in 2018. It appears to be a broader split with significantly more support than the last time the school board or a different board did this review. And so it is interesting. I'll be there with you on Friday too.
I think right now, like I said, crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And while no one wants academic scores to be low, that is a lot of support for changing starting times right now. And I think that's contributing to it. And I'm glad that I'm getting the feedback we get.
Oh, thank you, Member Higgins.
I would also throw in, in relation to last night's hearing, one person expressed a desire, not while the cameras were on, but that if, in relation to the PLCs, that be done in the afternoon, because for most families, the morning routine is set, and having one morning a week where things are different, and most people either set it up to where they have to deal with childcare issues in the morning or after school, one or the other. Their desire was that we consider PLCs as an afternoon thing where there might be early release rather than delayed start time. There was one other thing. I did want to also say that when we voted on this previously, I was on the board at the time, and the option we came down to was either to keep things status quo or move all 30 minutes in the same order. And kind of pertinent to the issue raised by the zone exemption parent, the feeling was even if we just change it 30 minutes, which wasn't much, and we weren't sure how much that really got us, it would change the schedule of every single ASD family in the district. And we didn't think that a 30-minute change was worth that, because if we do make a change, it's going to have a negative effect on some people, no matter what we do. And that was sort of what caused us to go status quo last time, I think.
Member Jacobs, did you have another comment?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Member Holloman, I appreciate hearing that feedback. I wasn't in the room, and so I didn't get to hear that. For just as an information point, I've actually asked Dr. Bryant, to the extent that he is interested in hearing my perspective and honoring it, that the team is going back to the drawing board and asking if PLCs on Monday morning are still what staff want and they would consider to be most valuable. Especially in line with this kind of potential dual factor that would modify start times with the PLC work as well as a schedule change. I think if I put the pieces together right, PLCs plus the start time changes for scenario 5 would have some students starting at between 10 and 11 a.m. And I don't know, that seems to present a significant challenge. And so I hope that since we're looking at these changes, that we look at everything and do a top to bottom look I think that would be most prudent. And I'm definitely interested in hearing what staff think, if a Monday afternoon or a Friday afternoon would be valuable given the models that we think are most effective. The other thing I wanted to point out, and I've pointed out to folks who indicate that they prefer to keep status quo because changes will impact families. I think the data shows pretty clearly that we're impacting students negatively with our current schedule, at least high school students. And so there are negative impacts for status quo as well. Our job, and it's going to be a challenging one, will be weighing those. But I just want to make it clear that from my perspective anyway, status quo isn't without its downsides as well. And so that's why this is a tough call.
No, thank you for those additional comments. If no one else has anything to add, then we will go ahead and adjourn.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd move to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Member Higgins is actually frozen and I can't hear.
Member Higgins just said he seconded.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.